You think there's gonna be an insane intro, but no, there's not gonna be an insane intro. I'm not giving it to you. I'm not giving it to you. I'm not. Hi, I'm Sesame, and welcome back to Wouldn't D20, where our luck is so shit that we wouldn't D20. Pardon my very, very weird intro. Yes, at this point, even I don't understand things. Today, we're gonna be talking about tips that you should know if you're starting to DM or if you're a beginner DM. Because I was at your shoes at one point in time where I didn't know what to do. There's a lot of DM tips out there, and they're all helpful. They have helped me before. I hope this video somehow in some way does help you. And of course, I am going to be pitching in some of my IRL experiences, or experiences that I have gone through in my journey of becoming a DM. It's a learning process, becoming a DM, starting your own story, creating magnificent adventures with your party is so rewarding and so fulfilling that I wouldn't change the world for it. People joke about like forever DMs, right? And yeah, it is a little bit sad that if you are forever DM, you rarely get to play games, but that just means that your group trusts you enough to DM for them, and that they're comfortable enough that they let you keep running games. It would be fun now and again to play here and there, but ever DMs have a passion for what they do. Number one, start with one shot. Seriously, start with one shots. Now for this one, it is really self-explanatory. You shouldn't go into blind DMing a long running campaign. If you do want to have your chance at a very successful game, of course there are successful DMs out there who start their beginnings as a DM by running long running campaigns, but it's a very rare instance. Don't want yourself taking that risk. Start with a one shot. It would be easier, it would be much more condensed. You would get a nick of how storytelling goes when it comes to D&D, and how combats go if you do decide for a combat one shot, or if you do decide that your one shot does indeed have combat. Second one, and that is run a modular campaign. Try starting with a module first. There's a reason why every single D&D guide does this, and it's because it's effective, and it's because you get the bearings straight. You understand the flow of the story, you understand how it starts, the plot hooks that is given, how it ends, and how it progresses. The thing with most people, or most like starting DMs that try to run immediately homebrew campaigns without proper knowledge of how a storyline goes, is that they start off really strong and they end really weak, or the middle part of that entire adventure, that entire story arc, gets lost in translation. Again, there are some instances where some DMs would run their first long running campaign as a homebrew. That is how I started off my first campaign ever, and it is ending, which is sad, but it's been a fun ride. But my first campaign ever, long running campaign, was done through a homebrew setting. And looking at that now, it was harder for me to do that than to just try to go ahead and pick up a module, that's out there. There are some very, very talented people within the community that does free modules to, be played by DMs who want to take a shot at it, or beginners that want to try to take a shot at DMing. Based on personal experience with how world building works and how homebrew making is, it can be a bit difficult, especially if you have a lot of these big plans that you want to execute, but it's just too much for your momentarily capability. Yes, you will grow. Yes, you will learn. Yes, you will get better at DMing. But if you run a homebrew campaign first, you will get too engrossed in some things. information will be bombarded. Your creative juices will easily run out. And of course, you don't have to follow things to the T when you are running modular campaigns. No, you're still the DM, you still have free reign of things. But it's just better to have this skeleton to work with a guide and a basis. Third point, don't try copying what other DMs do. More so, how you should find your own style of DMing. DMing is a journey. It's a process. You learn, you grow, you adapt to whatever happens. And this includes you trying to find your DMing style. Whether if it's you more leaning towards combat, you leaning more towards dungeon exploring, or puzzles that you want to go ahead and incorporate to your entire game. Finding your own DMing style is a journey in itself. Don't expect at the start of you DMing, you will be at your best. No one starts off as a perfect DM. Finding yourself as a DM is like how you find yourself as a person in the real life. As a DM, you try to look and try to see how you want the feel for your story be, or how you want to take things in your own direction. For example, me personally, I like the narrative storytelling aspect of D&D and the roleplay aspect of it more than I necessarily enjoy combat. Combat is fun, but I would rather enjoy the moments of, you know, character development, stories being told, stories being made. If you find the style of DMing that you have, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to shut yourselves out of the other things. Growing and trying to expand your horizons is also a great way of trying to learn how to be a proper and how to be a great DM. The fourth point, don't try to be Matthew Mercer. There has been so many stories about people getting into D&D with high expectations that, oh, I watched Critical Role, or oh, I watched Dimension 20. When I play games, I want to achieve that level of expertise, that level of greatness, that level of production, that level of narrative storytelling. The way that Dimension 20 has their interactions, you can't expect that out of yourself and out of your players just outright, because those people, they know what they're doing and that is their style of DMing. You can take inspiration from that. You can try to look up to them and try to learn how they do things. But you can't outright copy how someone DMs. Always have a session 0. Yes, as much as you, I think, may have heard from countless other YouTube videos out there, have a session 0. Now, why is it so important for you to have a session 0? First off, it sets your ground rules. You set the ground rules and expectations that your players will have jumping into this campaign that you have made, especially if it's a homebrew one where you have taken your time and care and effort to making this very, very beautiful and magnificent world. You need to lay down the ground rule for that. You need to let your players know what's in the campaign. You need to know what your players want out of your campaign and set expectations. Again, going back to my last point, with a lot of people enjoying the content of Critical Role, Dimension 20, and Adventure Zone, and other D&D groups out there that post their things online, it's very, very easy to see high expectations or get high expectations from yourselves or your players who come from these said backgrounds. If you're having a group that's fairly new with all beginners and you all want to try D&D because you've watched Critical Role or you've watched their new series, if you yourself are a new DM and you're running a campaign with new players because you got interested by watching your favorite D&D streamer or your your favorite campaign that's online, don't set yourself with high expectations. Just have fun and set ground rules. The last point of this video, which is The PHB is a guideline and not a rule book that should be followed to the T. It's your campaign. It's your setting. If you have something that doesn't work for you, that is a rule in D&D, you can go ahead and just not use it. You just go ahead, try to figure things out. What works for you, what doesn't work for you. It's, again, an entire journey, an entire process of you learning. And that is it for the video. If you've stuck out to the end, thank you so much. Means the world to us here in Wooden D20. And if you like more of the content that we are producing or we are going to produce, don't forget to hit that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell so that you are aware of all our future contents that are going to be coming out.